3, 2, 1. We're live.
What?
Here we go. You guys ready to do this thing? Let's do this thing. Here we go.
The best conversations happen at happy hour. Welcome to ours.
Welcome aboard.
This is the PT Pintcast. Here's your host, physical therapist, Jimmy McKay.
There we go. We are doing this live thing here. I'm liking this. And doing some video episodes. If you want to check it out on Facebook at PT Pintcast, as well as our new YouTube channel. You can check them out there. If a podcast wasn't enough, now we've got this thing. We've got this thing here in front of us, this video camera, so we can do this as well. So thank you guys for checking them out online on iTunes, Google, or Spotify. And as always, telling a friend. We have no idea how these shows spread. Somehow they make their way all the way to New Zealand somehow. And that's where we bring in today's guests. Joan, Elliot. Joan, you're in the DMV area in the United States. And Mindy, Silva, is from a long way away. Mindy, welcome to the show. Where are you from?
Right now I'm in New Zealand, originally South Africa.
Wow. So you're making your way around. I like that.
Not too much. Kind of sit where I am for a long while.
So Mindy, what's your backstory? And we'll get Joan's story as well. So where do you start? When people say, what do you do? How do you respond?
Okay, so I'm a pediatric physio. Always been a pediatric physio from the time I was, I don't know, thinking about what I was going to be when I grew up. And I worked in South Africa for a good many years, had a fantastic pediatric practice there called Centipeds. And very hard to leave that, but we left that and came to New Zealand. And we've been here for just over 10 years now.
All right.
And yeah, kind of about 5 years in, I realized that the beautiful mountains and the lovely scenery and the kind of coastal town that I was staying in was awesome for living, but not great for my professional development. And I was kind of in a rut, and did a couple of courses. Somebody brought some really experienced speakers to New Zealand, Billy Cusick and Lisa Passard, and they just kind of lit my bulb. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing, all this kind of stimulation. And Billy, at the time I was kind of dabbling a little bit in technology stuff and online stuff, and Billy agreed to do an interview with me. She was my first. And we started a little podcast, just kind of reaching out to thought leaders and clinicians in pediatrics so that I could hook in with them.
Yeah.
And it kind of grew from there. I think it's about 2 years ago now. 2 years ago, I just took it to the next level. I had a big group of therapists that were listening to the podcast, and we started something called the Wide Collective, which is a sort of premium membership for those therapists that are particularly passionate about pediatrics. And we get together from all over the world, the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, India, UK, Israel, everywhere. And we just kind of connect online and push our practice forwards every time we meet. So
you can't a podcast without telling the name of it. You got to give people the name so they can check it out.
So the podcast is Wired on Development, so www.wiredondevelopment.com. The membership is the Wired Collective. That's closed at the moment. It's a closed membership, so we only open once or twice a year for new members, because we like to focus on the membership and not on kind of the onboarding process. Right. And then part of that is I'm busy doing my PhD as well, and so just connecting with other academics. And so with the whole coronavirus happening, I was chatting to Chantal Camden from, I think she's the chair of the research group for the International Organization of Pediatric Therapists, that's the IOPTP. And we sort of talking about a conference, a seminar. And I said, hey, I've got the right platform to host it on. And it just kind of exploded from there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So this is happening tomorrow. We kind of had a little bit of a warm-up run today, but the real summit starts tomorrow.
Yeah, we're looking at, as we record this live, the date is May 26th. We're looking at less than 24 hours on the clock, and we'll share the link in the comments below as well. I can't let you go with past that without lit my bob. What does that phrase mean?
What's that?
You said you
heard it too.
It lit my bob. What is it? You gotta teach me that one.
Well, No, well, when I did Lisa and Billy's course, I was kind of in a rut. I hadn't realized, in South Africa, I was part of the Neurodevelopmental Therapy Association group, and it's a really active group. We would meet regularly for online, not for online, we would meet regularly in person for ongoing workshops, and we were just constantly learning. I had access to sort of the greatest NDT instructors, and we were always doing just ongoing. Sorry?
They like relit your fire for learning and kind of just like brought a different passion, a different direction. But I want to know, where does the phrase "lit my bob" come from? What does that mean?
I don't know, the same thing. Lit my fire, lit my bowl.
Right. I wanted to get the translations because we don't have that here in New York. So I like it.
Sorry,
we got Mindy's backstory. Joan, you're a pediatric physical therapist in the capital region. So talk about yourself briefly.
So I'm kind of the hometown PT. I have a variety of different platforms, and you could say I love working with the kids in the clinic. So I'm part of a practice owned by a occupational therapist, Debbie Allen, premier pediatric therapy source. And I see kids in the clinic. I teach at Marymount University. Just got back from an international trip to Nicaragua with some students there. And I also teach an online course through Rehab Essentials with one of the greatest, Steve Tepper. And I'm teaching the research portion of that course. And as you know, with the coronavirus, a lot of changes are being made to how we're teaching. And so we've been busy there as well.
All right, perfect. All right, so we bring you guys in. Joan, you mentioned Marymount University. That's where I went to PT school, so I'm a little, I have some affinity there. Wearing my Costa Rican beer T-shirt that I got on my Costa Rican service trip when I was still a PT student. So Mindy, let's talk about it's the eHealth Summit for Pediatric Physical Therapists. I was taking a look at the website. Wow, you've got a roster. When you were putting this thing together, picking and choosing some of the big names, and I guess that's the benefit of a telehealth conference when you go online is you don't have to worry about the kind of timing, most of it, right, in terms of flying in and spending time and scheduling people. So talk about what people can learn when they take this eHealth Summit for Pediatric Physical Therapists. Give us the hit list.
Okay, firstly, I just want to say that from conception to execution has been 6 weeks.
Wow.
So it's been a steep learning curve for all of us, learning new platforms and figuring out how to get the tech to play nicely. What people can learn is everything related to pediatrics, from how to do therapy, pediatrics online. So how to use digital technology to provide therapy services. So early intervention, we've got childhood disability, we've got, if you click on the categories there, that kind of shows you the categories, how to teach it, how to run a business in pediatrics, just kind of, that kind of shows you the best stuff. And then of course the research and the academics, we've got a nice academic stream running as well. So just kind of covering all the bits.
Love that. That's perfect. What do you got? What are you going to get to talk about yourself? What are you bringing to this as you put this together with less than 24 hours to go before it kicks off?
So I kind of stepped a little bit out of that. I just didn't have enough bandwidth to present a complete presentation myself. I'm part of some of the panels. Right. So I'm part of the research panel, and I'm hosting 2 panels, one with Mary Massery, Shelley Mannell, and Pierce Stamp. We're doing a panel on how sort of expert course instructors have taken their hands-on therapy courses online to do teaching. And then we've got a big panel looking, I'm going to miss out a name. I've got Brian Hoare and Danny Huey and Steve Alvarez, and we're hopefully getting Alicia Spittle, she hasn't confirmed yet, and Rowan Johnson. And we are looking at how therapists get involved in mobile technology, so creating apps using platforms, digital media, that kind of thing, to provide therapy services. So we're kind of doing a deep dive into how you actually launch something like that and get it off the ground, and the sort of pitfalls and promises of mental health.
When you do something on an electronic platform like you're doing with this summit, you really get to go very, very wide and very, very broad, but you don't have to worry about missing anything, right? Because people are going to be able to see some things live and also replays as well, because this is going to stretch a couple different days.
Yeah. So our main we had two main goals with the summit. The one was to provide information to therapists, just like knowledge translation. And the other one was to really network and connect. So those are our two sort of overarching goals for the conference. So in terms of that, the 4 days that the conference is running are free. Anybody can attend. And at the moment, we've got about 6,200 registrants. But then, yeah. But then,
wow.
If you want, because it's so jam-packed full of good stuff, I don't know if there's any way you can consume that in 4 days. There's the option to get the premium access ticket, and that gives you 12 months to consume all the content, so you can access it at any time, all the replays and that sort of thing, if you get the premium access ticket, which is $49. And there's a couple of added bonuses with that. We've got a sort of pop-up private community where the speakers and premium access attendees can connect in between the talks and really just network and dig a little bit deeper into some of the topics. And yeah, we've got just some fun stuff happening as well around how we're going to be disseminating that knowledge going forward. So when the talks have finished and we're kind of doing the replays of the presentations, we're putting them into formats that are going to be super easy for therapists to consume, sort of searchable video formats and downloadable audios and that kind of thing. So that's for our premium access ticket holders.
And hit them again with the price. What is the price for, Go Premium? Because it sounds like you're going to get a ton of stuff. If you're going to dip a toe, you might as well jump all the way in, right?
It's super cheap. It's $49 for 12 months access. Like, you can't get that.
That's your luggage at a conference when you fly somewhere. That's the check bag fee, right? And you don't have to go anywhere.
I know. And we've got just such an amazing group of speakers, and they've got there's giveaways. Speakers are giving away like a consultation time with them. They're giving away packages for therapists. So yeah, if you click on the perks there, you'll just see there's some amazing giveaways for attendees.
All right, well, talking about speakers, let's bring in one as well. Joan Mountain. Joan, what do you get to talk about? Because first of all, telling in telerehab, that's not necessarily new to you. You've kind of been looking in and talking about this, in the last couple months pretty heavily. What do you get to talk about at this eHealth Summit for Pediatric Therapists?
Well, I'd say it's pretty new because it's 10 weeks that we've been doing it. So we're actually going to be talking about co-treatment via telehealth. What we found that is working for some of our kiddos, not all of them, is where an OT and myself, or a speech language therapist and myself, will come online and work with the parent, kind of looking at our separate goals, but obviously looking at the whole child and trying to give them more function. And actually, what I really am loving is how it's empowering the parents in this kind of challenging time for them.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. What are you seeing in terms when you're using this? How is it empowering the parents? What do they get out of it?
So I can give you an example. I had a little boy with developmental coordination disorder that I evaluated online. And for one of his sessions, his father joined in. And I was working on some balance activities. I could see in the corner of the picture frame that the father was trying to balance and was having some challenges. So I said, Dad, you can join in on this if you want to. Well, by the end of the session, he was doing wall squats with his son. And then subsequently, his son came back and said, oh yeah, my dad was doing planks with me. And watching him and seeing the change in his ability to handle a plank was phenomenal. So I think it's allowing parents to kind of see what kind of meeting their child where they're at, and kind of then going, okay, let's see where we can work with you here. They're getting to see, more of their capabilities being at home so much.
I like that. That's a great example. Puts it into perspective. The use of some of these technologies. Joan, let's flip you from a presenter from the eHealth Summit for Pediatric Therapists into someone who might be checking out some of the other presentations. Who are some people you're excited to take a look at and listen to?
So I went online last night and I've signed up for 23 sessions.
Don't overextend yourself.
Yeah. I think one of my interest, well, obviously Mary Mastery, and what Mary Mastery can say, we can all learn from. And so she's giving a talk combined with Mindy, kind of on how do you actually approach telehealth and how do you work with it. So one of those, and then the other part that I'm interested in is the research part, because I think here in the US, our insurance companies are covering telehealth currently with COVID-19, but we don't know what that's going to look like in the future. And I foresee that telehealth will maybe be blended with clinic work in the future. So I think looking at the research and being able to organize that research into something that we can present will be beneficial. So I'm watching, there's several of the sessions on people who are interested in that.
I like it.
Go ahead. Then, Jimmy, and say the session we're doing with Mary is not about delivering telehealth. It's about delivering online learning for therapists. So how do you support therapists to learn what they would learn in a workshop when you can't actually be in a workshop and get your hands on anybody?
That's very meta, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're doing it virtually, telling people how they can learn virtually. I like what you guys are doing there. Very Inception-y.
Definitely.
What else you guys want to talk about? What should someone else know if they're watching right now or listening on the podcast via iTunes or via Spotify? What should they know about this eHealth Summit for Pediatric Therapists to make them say, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to jump into this?
I think for me, the most important thing is for people to think about it not as another webinar that they can just watch online on their own, that although you're in your own space on your own computer, it's happening with everybody at the same time, and there's a lot of opportunities for interactive collaboration that are happening throughout the webinar for free and for premium ticket holders. We're using a application called Padlet that allows people to communicate and discuss as the presentations are happening, and the speakers will be in there as well participating in that. So it's going to be really interactive, and our aim for this is to get people connecting and talking and building relationships across the oceans.
Yeah, that's great, because I think that's one thing, speaking just for myself, that's one thing I love about conferences. I mean, I'll admit I'm a little bit of a conference geek, is that connection. So you do kind of lose that sometimes, with a webinar or a replay video, but you guys are covering that. And you mentioned earlier with the premium access, kind of giving participants a chance to ask questions in between the sessions. I mean, you see that every presentation you go to, right? As soon as the presentation's done, the speaker will ask, do you have any questions? Maybe one or two happen. They say, okay, I'm done. Everybody claps. And then 15 people rush the stage to ask a question. But where were they a second ago when you said, what are your questions? But that's what it is. You want to ask those side questions, right? You want to get up. And I was guilty of that too. When we had a guest speaker at PT school, I didn't ask a question until it was over. And then I rushed the stage to make sure I could ask one-on-one. So I'm glad you guys are paying attention to that and seeing it and doing something about it. So how's that actually going to work?
Well, we've got a Facebook group. Most of the speakers are already in the Facebook group, and so they'll be around. People can just tag them, ask a question. We're also going to have some of the speakers jumping on and doing Facebook Lives, so that there can be a little bit more on, live interaction. So, yeah, we're trying it out. We're just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing that right now with this. I mean, I didn't do video interviews until the last couple of weeks when these things started to pop up as options. So good for you for embracing that.
Absolutely. The other thing that we're doing, because what else do you love about conferences, right, is the food. Am I right?
Absolutely.
You gotta love the food, and you gotta love trying out the different restaurants and the conference food and that sort of thing. So we've got a foodies network Padlet board where everybody's posting their favorite recipes, and then as attendees you're encouraged to try out somebody's recipe and let them know how it went. Hey, Michelle has just given us.
Got some
She's
people
one of our members.
Yeah. She was our connection via the eSummit. We did a free talk for the Pediatric Special Interest group on webinars, and Michelle's the one that connected us to your summit. So
yeah, as I said, it's been a real collaborative effort that we've been able to get it to this kind of caliber, because we've just had people branching out and reaching out to their own networks and pulling people in. So it's been amazing.
That's great. Yeah. So, I mean, really is going to be an international affair. Goes off in less than 24 hours. Michelle, as you're looking at the clock, Mindy, as you look at the clock tick down, a little nervous about how this thing's going to go? I mean, you're saying from inception to launch, less than 6 weeks, but I mean, the website's looking pretty solid.
Well, tech is what tech does, right? So if the tech plays nicely, then it's going to be an awesome conference. And if it doesn't, we've got a couple of backup plans. Right. So like now my screen's just gone onto screensaver. Hang on, I'm back. Yeah. So yeah, I've been dabbling with tech for a couple of years now. So I think I've learned to go with the flow a little bit and not freak out too much when things go wrong. So hopefully Wi-Fi's connect and stay up and running, and nothing crashes. So we'll only know once we get going, and if it does, then we'll just switch to plan B and still be able to present the content. The speakers have put in a lot of time with their presentations and stuff, and so we have those ready to go, and we have the speakers ready to go, and we'll find a way to get it to people.
Love it. So we're going to make sure that everybody can get connected as well to the summit as well, with the link in the comments of the videos, and as well as the show notes of the podcast episode. Mindy, Joan, are you guys ready to play 3 questions?
Okay. Sure.
It's happening. So we're doing it.
On the hot seat with 3 questions on the PT Pinecast.
All right. 3 questions brought to you by our friends at Aureus Medical Staffing. If you're looking for a PT position in and around the 50 U.S. states plus Washington, D.C., Aureus has you covered. Check them out online at eusmedical.com. All different settings, including, of course, pediatric physical therapy. All of the states, all the locations. So whether it's mountains, lakes, rivers, beach, whatever you're looking for, short-term travel assignments or long-term placements, Aureus has you covered. First question is a where question, obviously, since Aureus is into travel therapy. For both of you guys, you got to pick one location in the United States where you'd want to go and spend like 3 months, right? A 13-week assignment. We'll start with Mindy. Where would you go?
Yeah, Jimmy. When I go out to restaurants, people don't like to come with me because I can't make a choice.
Oh.
I don't like to choose. Yeah, no. I like a bit of everything. So where would I go? I think I would want to just travel around and go to visit Mary in Chicago and Pierre in New York, and I definitely want to get to San Francisco. There's a couple of people there I'd like to hang out with, and since I'm not in America, like America would be my travel destination, and then I could just travel around and just kind of hang out with people. Billy Cusick, I would love to get to Billy Cusick. I think she's in Telluride. Just kind of hang out with people and watch them work and learn from them.
So your answer is completely dodging the question. I like that. You just picked a bunch of answers, but they're all good. That's the idea. But here's the cool part. RSS positions in all those locations that you mentioned. Joan, you're in the DC, the DMV area. Where would you go if you could go carte blanche anywhere in the 50 US for 13 weeks?
So I would pick a place called Fallen Leaf Lake, and it's in South California near Lake Tahoe. It is just a pristine place that's all outdoors. I would sit by the lake. I'd swim in the lake. I would just rethink life and not have a computer near me.
Smart move. All right, that's the first question on 3 questions from Aureus Medical Staffing. And again, both those places you mentioned, if there are people there, they need therapists. So Aureus has positions in all settings in all 50 states plus DC. That's AUREUSmedical.com. Second question helps me build my Netflix queue, helps me build my reading list or my podcast list. What is something that you've watched or read or downloaded that you really think the audience should know? Something that really inspired or moved you? Mindy, what do you got?
I think it was a hard one to answer, Jimmy. I think I chose the Norman Doidge books and Karen Pape's book, The Boy Who Could Run But Not Walk, just because from a therapy perspective, I think we get bogged down a lot with evidence-based practice, and reading the history of how we've come to understand neuroplasticity and things that we just take for granted now, and how those were considered really not appropriate evidence-based practices in the years gone by, and how they're becoming mainstream now, and the kind of innovative stuff that happens when clinicians get excited and creative and go with their clinical instincts is for me really inspiring.
So what was the title one more time? The Boy Who Could Run?
The Boy Who Could Run But Not Walk is Karen Pape's book, which is similar to the Norman Doidge's books in terms of just looking at neuroplasticity from a different angle and what we can do to change our brains. So the Norman Doidge books are Brain That Changes Itself, and they're both similar lines along that. I'm not actually sure what they are, but yeah, those are the kind of three books that I would go for.
Sounds good. All right, Joan, same question. What do you got on the either watched or read or listened to?
So I read a book. I'm in a book club of 20 years.
Yeah.
But one of the books that I loved it's by Brené Brown. Brené Brown is one of the psychologists in the U.S. who has written many books, and it's called Daring Greatly. How it's the courage to be vulnerable and how it transforms the way we love, live, parent, and lead. And it's basically kind of embracing that vulnerability and your imperfections and how we learn from that.
Well said. All right, last question on 3 questions is a who question. You get to pick someone out that the audience should know more about. Mindy, who you got?
So I'm veering away from therapy for this one, and I'm going to talk about my favorite man in the whole world, who's BJ Fogg. So yeah, you need to know about BJ. He's a professor at Stanford, and he's the father of persuasive technology, which is, if anybody's doing online stuff, you need to know about persuasive technology. But he's moved into behavior design, which is really how we help people to change their behaviors and do the things that they want to do. And he presents so simplistically that it sounds obvious when you hear, like, you don't actually realize the power of the work that he does and how he presents it. But he is so smart, and his work is just life-changing. So BJ Fogg is the man to follow and find out more about.
I like it. All right, Joan, who do you got? Who's someone the audience should know more about?
So I'm going to give you 2. One from our profession, Steve Tepper. He is currently the owner of Rehab Essentials, and he just won the research award for philanthropic work in our field. He's just a one-of-a-kind, lovely person. And then the other is someone from another profession. His name is Siddirtha Mukherjee. He wrote a book called The Emperor of All Maladies, and he also wrote a book called The Gene. He's an amazing physician. He's actually, his book, he's giving a webinar on his book, The Gene. I think he is brilliant, and he puts science into understandable stories, which help us to remember.
It's really important. Narrative, definitely important to remember. Well done. You guys are off the hot seat. That's 3 questions from Arias Medical Staffing. Again, looking for a position, looking for a job these days, or maybe you're just graduating. A lot of, I saw on Twitter today, a lot of that little blue rectangle, right, which is passed from the NPTE. A lot of new physios today. So congratulations to those ladies and gentlemen as well. So if you're looking for a position, aureusmedical.com, you can find it up in the top right-hand corner there as well. You're off the hot seat. We do want to make sure people know we will be putting the link directly to the eHealth Summit for Pediatric Therapists, which will kick off tomorrow. The clock is kicking down. Mindy is fingers crossed that tech goes your way. Last thing we do on the show, we do shots. So during this show, I drink a beer and then we do shots, but not like that.
This is the parting shot.
All right, the parting shot. We get to let you guys have like a mic drop moment. What's one thing you'd want the audience to think about, remember, as we wrap this episode up? Mindy, we'll go with you first. What's your parting shot for today?
I feel like I'm on the hot seat. I don't know. I think my parting shot is connection. Just connect, make networks, reach out to people. The internet gives us an amazing opportunity to network around the world, and you just can't believe where it will take you when you just put yourself out there and reach out to other people, like-minded souls.
Well done. I mean, look at that parting shot right there, right? I knew Joan from Marymount. Joan got connected to you, Mindy, from who was this who was dropping comments?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're doing a podcast episode, and from around the world, you going from inception to, eSummit in 6 weeks. Connection is what it's about. Joan, good luck following that one with your parting shot. You're up.
I agree. Okay, so I'm going to use my favorite quote from Curious George.
Okay.
And Curious George says, when you're curious, fun has a way of just showing up. And I think we have to remain curious about our profession and what we're learning and about the world in general. And I think you never know what comes from that.
Well done. Well done. Again, we're going to drop the link in the comments below, as well as the show notes of this episode as we release it as a podcast. Want to thank Mindy for doing this, all this work, Joan for contributing and for letting me know about it. And that's how things travel around the world. Good for you for putting this on. Can't wait to hear the results. And we'll be back. We'll have another drink for the second annual when you do this again, right, Mindy, next year?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jimmy, for having us on and just supporting the summit.
Very much.
Love the PT Pinecast? Yes. Support the show by telling a friend or by leaving a review on iTunes or Google Play.
All right.